And just to give you a very practical idea as to uh, uh, a practical example of what happened is that, essentially waves of startups always happen in different industries. So for example, like, the chipset industry, was started by Chips and Technologies in 1985. And then by 1986, 87, they became very, very successful. By 89, a lot of the technologies became reasonably understood by everybody. So, boom, there is an explosion of startups. And that happens in Silicon Valley. So people quit chips or quit Intel or quit TI or VLSI and start their own companies because they think they can start their own businesses. So actually, almost 15 or 20 chipset companies started at the same time within 12 months of each other. So basically, 1989, there were almost 15 to 20 chipset companies that got started by different groups of entrepreneurs, and some of them, got funding, but Opti could not get any funding because essentially, I had 3 Taiwanese engineers as my partners, and then, this was my first startup. So basically, the 4 of us ended up, visiting 3 venture capitalists, and after visiting those 3 VCs, we said, I don't think, this is going to work, because all of them said, we don't know who you are, we don't think that, you can build your company, etc. And even though we were confident, nothing happened. So we just went ahead and just got our company started, and you'll hear more about it when I talk about the company. But what's interesting is that most of the other startups, the dozen other startups that happened in the chipset industry, it was all engineers. There were nobody with marketing and sales experience. So the 3 engineers, the Taiwanese engineers, actually deliberately reached out to me. And I was a director of marketing at Chips and Technologies. So they reached out to me, and after about a couple of months of starting the company, and said, Raj, we think that we need somebody from sales and marketing to join our team to get the company going. And, they had no funding. They were good engineers because I'd worked with them at Chips and Technologies. But, and I was the director of marketing at Chips and Technologies. But, I talked to them, and I knew they were good engineers. So I said, I discussed it with my wife, and we said, we're in Silicon Valley, we got to take a chance. We got to go for it. And even though, I had a lot of constraints, I decided to go ahead and take the chance and jumped into Opti. And you'll see that Opti ultimately became the leader among all these other chipset startups. And in fact, we even succeeded against the established chipset companies, from Chips and Technologies to Intel and everybody else. We became the leader. And the main reason was that besides the technology and the product, what is really important is marketing and sales, right? So marketing and sales can fundamentally go ahead and change your company's trajectory. And there are so many decisions that having a strong marketing and sales person on your team can do that will be something that the product engineers and the design engineers will not be able to do. Actually, they cannot even think of some of the crazy ideas that ultimately work and make your company successful. They cannot even think of those things. So we're going to cover some of this, and you'll see how a marketing and salesperson in the founding team is extremely important for the success of your company. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing some screens, and then we will get started. So the first thing is that okay, so the first thing is that, there is a ton of stuff on marketing that, I have put together for you because, marketing is a whole field by itself, and most people on the team don't have much, most founding teams don't really have a full grasp of marketing. So I put a lot of material together. So if you look at the first, click on the week 4 presentation, you'll see that I'm going to share my case study with you guys. And then I'm going to cover something called crossing the chasm. So crossing the chasm is one of the most important books written by Jeffrey Moore. And it's still today kind of the Bible for technology companies that want to figure out how to grow, take the technological innovation and build the market around it. So crossing the chasm, and we will cover some of it. And then the next thing is oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, I've clicked on the wrong one. Okay, so basically, like, I've gone ahead and I found on the internet somebody who had done all the hard work of taking that book and creating an abstract of 10 pages. So that's there. Then from Stanford University, I have got 2 presentations, and we'll quickly go through it on marketing. They're kind of fairly elementary things, but it's just good to go through the slides so that you have an overall concept of what marketing is and what are the different things that are to be done in marketing. And then if you click on, sorry. Okay, and then if you go further down, you'll see the case study in entrepreneurial marketing is 3 case studies, which are basically my 3 companies, Opti, Selectica, and Dino, and we'll talk about how marketing has to be done in an entrepreneurial company. And then I've shared the Selectica prospectus. So most of you probably have never read a prospectus of a company, but it's a gold mine of information about the company. So this particular document is generally what is what is distributed to investors, and based on that, they invest the IPO. IPO, make their IPO investment. So the prospectus is there, and so okay. So there's a lot of excellent material that you should definitely get familiar with. And as I said in the very first class, go ahead and create a folder for yourself with subfolders on all the different weeks of classes, and then download all the material that is on the portal into your own PC and own portal, and put it on Dropbox or whatever, some cloud storage, so that you always have access to this material. Because as you're building your company, you don't want to go searching for that thing that you thought you had seen, but you have no idea where it is stored right now. So, that one folder on entrepreneurship is something most people will start multiple companies in their lifetime. I think once you start one, you're going to start at least 2, 3, 4 companies in your full lifetime. And the principles of entrepreneurship, skills, and everything does not change. So you should just create your own personal library and keep adding to it as you see interesting stuff from everywhere. Okay, so let's get going with some presentations. So the first pitch we are going to do, and I'm going to go through it very, very fast, because I'm assuming that most of you have got some idea of marketing. And this is from Stanford University, etc. And basically, I think the first point that they make, and we kind of did this in the last class where we discussed product development and market development in Tango. So the first challenge that as an entrepreneur you're going to run into is, should I launch the product now, or should I wait for a little bit, another quarter, to launch the product, to add one more feature before launching it? And this balance, unfortunately, is something that nobody can teach you. And this is something that you're going to have to go ahead and make your own assessment. Just to give you a disaster thing that happened, I was on the board of a company called AppStream, which was very, very well funded by VCs to the tune of 10, 15, $20 million. And, after a year and a half, they thought that they were going to miss the market. So they launched it at a big conference, and it was such a breakthrough idea that they had. It was kind of even before Citrix came along. So they were in the same market as Citrix, and they were ahead of Citrix. And so they launched the product, and obviously they became the product of the show. And the VCs all got super excited because they had amazing press coverage, and they put in another $30-40 million. So they raised a total of $65 million, this AppStream company. And it took them an additional 5 more years to finish the product. And basically, like, as a consequence, when they finally were ready and they tried to launch the product, everybody said, hey, that's a 5-year-old product. Why are you launching it now? And so this company basically, almost failed. And it still had a good outcome, and I'll explain that in some future class. But all I want to say is that this is a challenge, knowing when is the product enough complete that I should launch it, versus just waiting. Your engineering team is going to say, wait. And the marketing guy is going to say, go. And the sales guy is going to start selling. And, as the corporate executive, as the founder, you have to make the call. And so moving ahead, going into the basics of marketing. So these are the 5 things that I want every entrepreneur to be very clear in their mind, which is, what is the need that I'm servicing? How big is this opportunity? Can I get a sustainable competitive advantage? Is it a scalable business? And what's so unique about us? So these 5 things, I should be able to wake you up at 2 o'clock in the morning and boom, you know what those 5 things are. Okay, what's your unmet need? How will you get a sustainable competitive advantage? You should be on the top of all of these 5 items. So obviously unmet need, this is a classic mistake that I have made, almost every entrepreneur makes, which is they think they understand the need, but they really don't hone down or zoom in or zero in on the segment of market that absolutely needs your product. Who has the hair on fire? Who must have it? So this is probably, the reason why you have so many startups that, they do the product and then they're disappointed with why, nobody seems to care about their product. And the reason is they have not identified who must have that product. Once you find that who must have that product person, and then you basically figure out, carve out that segment, you are on your way, because it's going to be so much easier to spec out your product and then price it properly, market it properly, launch it properly, hire the right people to sell it, all that stuff. So everything becomes easy once you've got the next one is, how big is this opportunity? And since most entrepreneurs are going for new markets, it's not easy to do. That's the first thing that you find out. You search on the internet, you look for industry reports, and nobody's covering your field. So basically what you have to do is do something called tops down and bottoms up model. And the tops down is where you look at the total market, how many people need umbrellas, what is the total addressable market? Yes, I can service the umbrella market in India first, and my projected share is going to be like 5% or 10% of the people. Or you can do it bottoms up and say that, there were 10 shops and I'm selling it at the rate of, 8 per monsoon season. And if I scale up to Mumbai, there are going to be 1,000 shops. So I should be able to sell 8,000. If I go to all the 6 different big metropolitan cities, they have approximately 1,000 shops each. I should be able to sell, 54,000, and, you do bottoms up, right? So that is one easy way to do it. Then you got to zero in on your segment. So the total addressable market is always huge. As like everybody will say, oh, I'm going to service the umbrella market. Yeah, that's like, 2 billion people or 3 billion people need an umbrella. But there's clearly not easy to target such a big market. So you have to zero in, and down to the base camp. And then you figure out, what is the category in your market? Are you a new market, a new invention for a new category, or are you existing market with a better, faster, cheaper? Or is it a niche market, or are you resegmenting the market for your company? Next one, very important again, is knowing who your competitors are. Why are you better? What is your unfair advantage, and can you sustain this advantage? One easy way is to be different. Be faster, cheaper, better, and figure out if there's a way to destroy something that is today's use. And then you explain to yourself, your partners, to your employees, to your potential prospects, you should be able to explain in a very clear, concise, and consistent way what your defendable, differentiated position is. So define your market, the opportunity, the value, reason to buy, competitive analysis, differentiate position, and prepare all this collateral so that you can clearly say that this is for this target customer who has this need, this is the product name in this product category, and this is the reason that people are going to buy it, and this is the competitive advantage that we've got, and this is a primary differentiation. All of this stuff goes into all these pieces of collateral. So by going ahead and putting all of this down on a piece of paper or on an email or in a presentation, you can be clear in your thinking. One of the hardest things that I have, one of the hardest things that I ran into is that, engineering thinks that, this is the key advantage, competitive advantage, or where we are the best. Marketing thinks something else. The finance people think something else. So as a team, you're confused, and you just don't successfully get align your own team, in fact, your own thinking as to what is your defendable, differentiated position in the marketplace. Then, you clearly don't want to be a one-time, one product, one customer, one product company. So you want to have something that is scalable, and scalable basically means by putting in little additional resources, hiring one more salesperson, or opening up one more country, you can sell more. By changing the product to slightly another feature, you can go after the next market segment. If you, for the next product revision, you can add more stuff and then open up new market segments. So scalable business model is one that allows you to grow, and grow without having to do the whole Herculean effort of building the product from scratch every time. Then you come up with your business model, and obviously now that you've understood the BMC approach, you'll realize that it's not, just a straight line from one to the next to the next. There are feedback loops and interactions between the 9 building blocks of your company's business model, and you need to have all of that done properly. And then, this is something that every time you go to raise money, you go to sell your product, you talk to the press and have the press write a story about you, or you hire a PR firm, they'll ask you, why you guys? Why do you think you'll succeed? And, you've got to know that answer. You've got to know the answer as to why you are that amazing team with the right domain knowledge that has discovered this discontinuity in the marketplace, and you've got this product that's designed that is just going to change everybody's life. So you've got to be able to explain all of that. So that very quickly is kind of, your first briefing on marketing. So I'm just going to continue on to the next slide set on marketing. And the reason why I'm going through this marketing stuff quickly is because I want to show how everything that you're going to see in these marketing presentations has to be applied in your business. And you're going to see how that all the marketing presentation and all the material in the marketing presentation gets applied in order to, succeed for your company. So that's why I'm going to go through these presentations a little bit quickly. And okay, so one of the things that you are going to see, please keep on typing your questions. We will definitely cover all of them before the class ends. And I'm not going to answer them as they come up, because I want to get to a certain point in this class. So, but we will cover every question, but you should go ahead and put it in chat as soon as the question comes up in your mind, so we don't miss it. So when you go to market, the way you go to market is going to be totally different whether you're going into a business to consumer market or whether you're going in a business to business market. And some of you are B2B guys, some of you guys are B2C guys, but there's no harm in learning what B2C is. And if you're a B2C guy, there's no harm in learning what's B2B. Okay, so the whole challenge for B2C, which is what Facebook, Twitter, Dropbox, Snapchat, all of these guys are all about B2C, right? The biggest challenge for them is, how do you get users, right? It's, oh, sorry. Is how do you get users is the number one problem. And almost every time you meet a B2C guy, he'll say that my business model is advertising. And, once I've got 10 million users, I'm going to be so successful with my ad model. The biggest problem for B2C guys is, it's a wonderful idea when you're at scale, but how do you get there? The challenge for a B2C guy is how to get the users in enough quantity and without spending a fortune, so that they go ahead and can come up with different business models. And just a minute. I got my class going. Who's coming? Okay, fine. Okay, bye. Okay, so if you look at Airbnb, Twitter, Yelp, Reddit, Snapchat, TaskRabbit, for all of them, the challenge is like, how do you really get those users? Because once you get the users, many different business, advertising business model or some other business model can all kick in. So they have to basically be extremely clear about what the message is to the consumer before they start spending. It's so easy to burn through a huge chunk of your money if you are not clear about your message and how you can convert, how your conversion funnel will work. So you have to do this on a very small number of users, otherwise you're going to go broke very quickly. Just to give you an idea, like, when we started Dino, we said, it'll be awesome if we've got, like YouTube, if you get 1 million people to start using our video streaming service, we will be an amazingly successful company. And, because our technology worked and everything else. And he said, how do we get these users? And we said, oh, why don't we advertise on Facebook? So, we said, okay, let's take let's start spending $500 a day. And so we put in our budget of $500. We gave our message and our ad to the Facebook rep, and boom, in about 20 minutes, the next day, our $500 were gone, and we did not have one single customer using our product. After about 3 or 4 or 5 days, we had spent $2,000-3,000, and you're wondering, like, who's doing all this clicking that's basically wiping out your $500, and nothing is converting into business or into users. And we realized that there was something wrong with our approach. So this optimizing your conversion funnel before you start your effort to get users on a large scale becomes extremely important. And so you have to do a number of things. And one easy tool is to do something called A/B testing with a product like Optimizely, where you basically say, we can do this, we can have this user interface or this user interface. And there's a ton of other tools that are available. But the key message is measure, 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 right? Which is keep measuring how many people are coming to your web page, how many people are downloading your app from the App Store, how many people are using it every day, how many people are dropping off after 3 tries, after 2 tries, how many people are expanding the number of users in your case. So measuring is the key, and there are tons of products that are available to do that for you. And you'll soon realize that there is a whole industry of startups whose job is to help you. So if you don't know and you go to the wrong person for help, they're going to wipe out your entire marketing budget even before you know it. So there are people who can help you do media planning. There are people who agencies that can do your collateral messaging. There are people who provide ad servers, people who do security, measurement. There's all kinds of startups. Many of these are startups. Many of these are billion-dollar companies. But all of these companies are there addressing specific areas to help you succeed in getting your customers. So, but if you are naive about what you're trying to achieve, you're going to go broke very, very quickly. I mean, the hardest thing is to find the right marketing guy. And the reason is that marketing is an expense that can become a black hole if you have the wrong marketing person running that particular function. For example, when I was at Selectica, we interviewed about a dozen people for the VP of marketing job, and finally got one, hired one person. He had amazing background, and he had succeeded with so many other companies, but we brought him in, and a year later, we have spent like $3 million on marketing, and sales, and everybody is saying we have not got a single useful lead from all that marketing. And the approach that the marketing person might end up using is something that he's familiar with, but it may not be applicable to your industry or to your specific niche. And that is, so even though you may be a technical entrepreneur, and Yet you have to use your common sense. You have to use your common sense um, you have to use your common sense in order to go ahead and understand whether your VP of marketing is on the right track or not, whether he's doing the right thing or not. So I don't want, one of the things, important messages that you will learn from me is that there are three departments in your company that can kill your business. The first department is marketing that we are covering. The next department is sales. And the third department is your legal department. So these three guys, or these three departments, can absolutely kill your entire company. And the main reason is that, uh, these are more art than science. And most entrepreneurs are good with science and engineering, but they're not very good with art. They cannot judge good art, which is good marketing, good sales, and good legal advice. So these three things, you have to, in spite of being the naive person in marketing, sales, and legal, you have to be the guy who says, look, I might be an idiot in marketing, but I don't understand. I might be an idiot in sales, but I don't understand. You have to basically go ahead and keep pushing the marketing and sales and legal people to explain to you their logic and their and keep like a pit bull. You got to hang on and keep demanding answers, even then get them to explain to you three times something if you don't really feel comfortable with the answers that you're getting. So just be a pit bull when you're managing these three, because these three people are these three departments can absolutely kill a company. Okay. So the key goal, is to acquire users in a B2C company. And the logic is very simple, which is that the lifetime value of the user should be greater than the cost per user. Makes sense, right? If you have a business that is going from 1 million to 10 million, and if the lifetime value of the user, which is money that you can earn from them, say within 2 years, is less than the cost of acquiring that user, say it costs you $1 to acquire, and the value of advertising you're going to get per user is 50 cents. And then if your business scales up from 1 million users to 10 million, guess what? You actually lost $5 million instead of growing. So the speed at which you're going to run out of money is going to accelerate rather than go down. So you have to go ahead and be brutally honest with your marketing guy in terms of calculating what the lifetime value of the user is and what the cost of acquisition of that user is. There are many, many different ways of doing it. Search, display advertising, which was the Facebook thing that I explained that we did at Dino, incentivized, and there are many, many different methods of doing it. For paid acquisition, obviously there are many different ways of doing searches. Some are more expensive than the others. Then there is organics, which is uh, search engine optimization. And then now even for the App Store, you can optimize. And I think if some of you read some of the stories on the internet today, looks like Apple is going to start advertising on their App Store. So they're going to allow people to advertise. Till now, essentially they always put the top rated ones based on number of feedback or number of users or whatever as at the top. But now they're going to let advertising come into the picture too. And ultimately for B2C, if you're not viral, you're not going to succeed. And there are many forms of virality: inherited, incentivized, collaborative. And the formula is quite simple, which is the virality coefficient needs to be above 1. Because if it's above 1, you're going to get something called exponential effect. And that way, you can project that you're going to be a very large company if once you have this virality coefficient of greater than 1. One key one that you'll see is very important for B2C is retention. And there are many ways of retaining through push notification, email, social media. And, you'll now understand why Facebook and everybody loves to send you notification. And the message that I gave about AppStream, where if you go ahead and do a big launch before you can capitalize on the great stories, you're going to essentially have momentum which is going to be unused by your business. And it's not easy to have a second launch because the press will always give companies only one shot at visibility in the marketplace. So one of the things that some of the techniques that you have seen a lot of B2C companies do is they iterate very fast. I mean, there was a time when, the normal speed at which you would develop products is about 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half, 18 months, or even as much as 3 years. So on the other hand, we've seen that, Microsoft used to do a 12 to 18 months or 18 months to 24 month product revision previously for all their products like Word and Excel and everything else. And suddenly Google came along and they started putting out new versions every, week or 2 weeks. They would have a new version of their applications and of the mail, of Google Mail, Google Chrome. All of these were being updated almost every week or every month, while Microsoft used to update Internet Explorer, from 6 to 7 would be like an 18-month cycle, and 7 to 8 will be another 18-month cycle. And what happened? Like, even though they had a 10-year lead over Google Chrome and were locked in on PCs because they were bundled in with Windows, today Google Chrome has got 80% of the market compared to Internet Explorer. So the reason is that people who iterate fast essentially end up, giving more and more features faster and faster to a larger and larger number of people. And so basically, like, what is happening these days is that the role of the engineer, designer, or product manager, and person who does the competitive analysis, it's all been merged into one, so that the same person is doing the product definition. He's figuring out how to come out with prototypes, and is also designing the architecture of the product. Another thing that you can always do is first mover advantage, and I think we talked last time about how Activision and other companies who were the leaders in gaming, Nintendo and Electronic Arts and others, which were the leaders, ended up having a smaller market capitalization than Zynga, which was a startup, because Zynga jumped onto Facebook and became the leader on with Facebook gaming, and Instagram did that with iOS. And every time there is a new platform that comes along, like Google Glass or IoT or blockchain or one of these guys, there's an opportunity for first mover advantage. Okay, so that's a very quick overview of B2C marketing. And we kind of did B2B marketing, but important thing in B2B marketing that we should focus on a little bit is inbound marketing and lead gen. A lot of people end up, a lot of entrepreneurs end up staying in stealth mode for their whole life till they go broke. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows how great their product is. They just cannot figure out who to sell the product to, the person that they should sell to. They don't know how to reach them. So essentially, their weakness for a lot of entrepreneurs in the B2B business is inbound marketing and lead gen. So both of these are quite straightforward, and they have a process, and with the right marketing guy leading the activity here, you can go ahead and systematically build up your market. So inbound marketing is basically writing blogs, podcasts, Quora posts, etc., in order to get folks to reach out to you. Okay, and then of course there is also digital marketing that we talked about, and then the display ads and so on. And now you got other platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., Snapchat. All these new platforms are available for your digital marketing. And then there is something called remarketing, which is staying in touch with the leads even after they leave your site, and basically this remarketing and all this is good if you have a niche audience and so on. And clearly there's a lot of books and other things to do. So the key message I want to give on inbound marketing is the ones that are, is that is that if you have a smart marketing VP, or you yourself become very smart in marketing, you are going to end up not making some mega mistakes in terms of getting in front of the right customers and getting the attention of the right customers for your products. I'll give you a very clear example. So we talked about AppStream, right? So AppStream used to provide the ability to essentially stream applications, not stream movies, not stream videos, but stream applications. So just like Citrix, it would take your client server app and would convert it into a, a, a served or a streamed app. So instead of having to install SAP on 25 different desktops, you could basically have one version of SAP working, running on your server, and essentially all the users would be using SAP, but they're really operating off, the server version of the SAP. Anyway, so interesting concept with a lot of benefits. And what ended up happening was we said, okay, we better hire a big sales force, and we had raised $65 million. So we hired, about 10, 15 sales teams all over the US and Europe. And, within 2 years, we had run out of $63 million were gone. We had not got any business from those salespeople. And, essentially the VCs decided to shut the company down. We were down to the last, $1.5, $2 million. And we were burning through like, $3 to $4 million a quarter. So they said, okay, time to shut the company down. And so what ended up happening was, they swapped out the CEO, they got rid of the CEO, essentially ended up firing everybody. And then the VP of engineering said, look, you guys are going to shut the company down. There is $1.5 million or $2 million left in the company. Why don't you give me a chance? Because I really believe that, this product is a great product and people should be able to use it. And so the board and the VC said, okay, we'll give him a shot. So he cut down the company to got rid of every salesperson, all the app people, got rid of everybody, and we were down. And now it was 5 or 6 engineers and this guy, and they were they had to do everything, marketing, sales, everything. And he was not a marketing guy, he was a VP of engineering. So this guy basically went and got some Google keywords, and we already had a website and everything. He got Google keywords and so on, and then he took the product and made it something that users can try on their own, can download and just try it on their own. And previously, because we had VPs of sales people, etc., who cost $500,000 a year between the sales team of telesales plus the apps engineer plus the sales guy, and his regional office is typically $500,000 a year. We were looking for deals in the range of $500,000 and up. And what ended up happening once we put this particular application, AppStream application, as try it yourself, and we charge $25,000. And it's interesting, all kinds of school administrators, primary and middle school administrators, started downloading our app and saying, okay, I need to use it, and people just started buying this product one after the other for $25,000 a pop. And within no time, we were making $1 million a year from these $25,000 per pop downloads. And then we said, what are they using all this AppStream software for? This was supposed to be for big applications like SAP and Oracle and these kinds of CRM applications, Siebel and so on. What are they doing with this $25,000 download for a school? And it turned out that school administrators did not like to load the Microsoft suite of Excel and Word and all these applications on every PC, because these kids would do something bad with it, and they just wanted to have one version, one copy of Word, Excel, etc., which would then be streamed to all the laptops and PCs in every classroom. So they were using it for streaming Microsoft Office product, where we were thinking that the market was going to be for SAP, etc. And what ended up happening was that, with 6 people, paid search, this became a very profitable company. And all of a sudden, we were a profitable company growing at 50% year over year. And, it just looked like a wonderful situation. And then Symantec found that every time these schools would buy our AppStream software, they would call up Symantec and order some security software. So Symantec said, what is this product called AppStream? Every time a school administrator buys AppStream, he also buys our security product. And they got familiar with it. We had some meetings, and then they became our partner for selling AppStream or promoting AppStream. And then the sales just took off like a rocket. And then Symantec one day called up the CEO and said, "Hey, we'd like to buy your company." And Symantec said, "It's completely synergistic. Every time we sell AppStream, we get a Symantec security software sale also." And they purchased us for basically about $68 million. And essentially all the VCs got their money back, where they had written off everything. And, the team also got, I think, a 15 or 20% carve out, which is about $15 million was distributed among all the current and previous employees. And so even the founder made $1.5 million or $2 million or something like that. So anyway, the point I wanted to make is that you may be a B2B company, but some of the techniques of B2C marketing, like search and display advertising and all that, might be relevant in your business. And because these new platforms that have come along are so ubiquitous and so powerful that they actually stimulate a pull even for B2B markets. Even for B2B markets, you can have a pull mechanism going rather than a push mechanism all the time. For B2B, for most old timers in B2B business, everything needs to be pushed. You need to push the customer to buy your product. But these days, because of the ubiquitousness and the power and the kind of smartness or the savviness of almost everybody when it comes to software and applications and everything, a lot of B2B products can benefit from some of the B2C techniques. Okay, so let's now move to the 3 companies and how I applied some of the marketing techniques in here. So I should cover one more thing, before I pitch it. And that one more thing is, okay. Okay, so how many of you have seen this screen before? Jeffrey Moore's model for high-tech marketing. I don't see any hands going up. Okay, I'm seeing a bunch of hands going up in Nagpur, some in Mumbai. Okay, some in Hubli. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So basically, like, one of the again, we're going to focus. This is mainly applicable for high-tech marketing. Some of the learnings are also good for non-high-tech marketing, but most of it is for high-tech marketing. So basically, the assumption is that you come up with an innovative new product, which is unique, and what you're going to do, what you need to do is now build a business by getting the market to start using your product, right? So this is, and till I think to a large extent, Jeffrey Moore came along. He wrote this book in, I think, 1985 or something like that. Most people, or most marketing people, never really understood, um, the difference between high-tech marketing and, product marketing by consumer companies, like people who sell cereal boxes and people who sell furniture and people who sell cars. So, the marketing techniques that are used by people in commodity mainstream markets like cars, food, um, industrial products, etc. People did not understand that there was a fundamental difference between marketing for those companies and the marketing for high-tech companies like Intel, and then for all entrepreneurs. So Jeffrey Moore from Silicon Valley first recognized that there was a difference, fundamental difference between marketing for those mature markets like transportation and food, etc., and for high-tech products. And the key was that in high-tech products, uh, basically the user does not know or trust the entrepreneur or the innovator. So see, you come up with a new car, automatically, the people who need to buy a car already know that, there's another car, and he's just got to sit and drive it, and if he likes it, he's going to buy it. But not true for high-tech marketing. As a consequence, in high-tech marketing, what Jeffrey Moore recognized was that you have to go through this cycle. And this cycle, from start to finish, actually breaks down the market into five categories of people. So there are people who are techies and innovators. They're customers who are going to buy your product, but they are techie people. And you'll see that that's only 2% of the market is techie people who buy techie products. Then you got something called early adopters. And these are bigger companies who have a leader or a director or a project manager who's a visionary, somebody who really likes to see the future. For example, Cisco was a visionary product for internet companies. And one of the key successes that Selectica got was that we found this visionary guy called Pete Solvik, who was the CIO of Cisco. And, once we convinced this CIO to use Selectica's configurator, then essentially I ended up getting a lot of benefit from Cisco using my product, which allowed me to jump over the chasm. So the chasm is that there are very few Pete Solviks in this world. So, there were about 200 Fortune 500 companies that should have bought Selectica's product, but there were probably less than 5 or 6 people who were like Pete Solvik and who were visionaries and could see the vision that I was communicating, or Selectica was communicating. And as a consequence, since all of these companies, the smart 200 Fortune 5 out of the Fortune 500, 200 companies or potential users, about 60 or 80 companies are run by pretty smart people. And these are pragmatists and who go to conferences and all that. They don't want to take the risk that a Pete Solvik will take, but they are people who are pretty smart and they can understand logic and they can understand the benefits of certain things. And once they start buying your product, you are in a tornado, which means automatically your product just starts selling. There's a pull for your product. And once that happens, then Main Street, which is the conservative buyers, all the CIOs who are conservative will start buying. And once they finish, by the time once all of these people have bought the product, the laggards will automatically take your product. So basically, this is the flow that has to happen. And this particular diagram shows very nicely, what are the issues in each segment of the marketplace, and how to go ahead and update your elevator pitch when you're talking to the techie, to the visionary, to the pragmatist, conservative, skeptic. You have to change your words. You say a few words and you can lose the sale. You know, if you say that, this is cutting edge technology to a conservative guy, you're finito. He's only concerned about, you know, we guarantee, success with this. You will get your money back in 2 years or 24 months, or, those are the things that the conservative people are looking for, that this project will be completed by investing, $682,000. So all of that stuff, the conservative guy is looking for, right? So basically, like, the positioning messaging has to be as, depending on where you are, you've got to use the right positioning messages as it is explained here. This is the pricing that you use. This is what happens to your product. For Selectica, we had a core technology was a configuration engine. By the time we came here, we needed a configuration engine with a model builder, with middleware, with some reporting. By the time we came here, we needed third-party plugins. We needed, something that allowed us to provide a executive dashboard, provide consulting services around it. So you can see that your product itself needs to grow with capability and functionality as you target different chunks of the market. And you can see that, in this early stage, you need some very aggressive, what we call big game hunters, direct sales that you use for pitching your product to the visionary guys, etc., is done with big game hunters. These are salespeople who have the ability to communicate the value of what you're doing. And then once you move on to the big part of the market and the more conservative, etc., you can move on to distributors and partners and others to fulfill the demand. So you're not spending a fortune, because these guys are very expensive to make these sales where your profit is going to get squeezed because of the margin expectations of these guys. So this is an amazingly compact way of how people, those entrepreneurs who are developing cutting edge products, need to promote their product. And for me, like all three of my companies, I had to fit them into the Jeffrey Moore's model of high-tech marketing, and we're going to see how all of it works. But I'd like to have one of our students, San Bhaskaran from UPilot, who's got a breakthrough SaaS CRM product, to explain what he has learned and how he has used this market, this model. So San, why don't you explain a little bit about your company and then spend about 5 to 10 minutes.
All right. So we have an innovative CRM for companies that are fast growing, which means they have gone beyond the scope of a small business CRM, 4-5 people, and they want something which where the business rules and policies must be implemented. And then they reluctantly go towards the legacy softwares like Salesforce and things like that. So we come in as a viable, better alternative for that migration. So what happens in our case is the product has to be, we have about 3 million lines of code. So it's not like a very novel idea. It's which requires less work. We have to have something very mature in the market due to our positioning. So the model, one thing I learned about this model is that every time you bring something which is different, this model applies. Whether even if it is in a car, when Tesla came in, it is a car, but it's different. It's electric. So there'll be innovators, there'll be early adopters, there'll be people who will never buy unless there is electric chargers everywhere. So everything changes this way. Now, the unique insight that we got are two. One is we use our own CRM to sell. So the moment we come across prospects, we automatically classify them whether the person is an innovator, early adopter, or a laggard. So we don't even follow up with laggards because we want to complete our product with early adopters. So if you try to finish your product with early majority or late majority customer, they will have this huge checklist of things, right? Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? So instead of trying to develop the whole product, in a non-hurried way, you will be actually bogged down by their demands. So basically, within our CRM itself, we have a checklist, and it says, we identify innovators, early adopters, and for example, we are following two large companies, two Fortune 500 companies to try our product. And one of them, we identified very clearly that they're a laggard company, and we decided not even to pursue that. And eventually, we won over the other Fortune 500 company who is using our product now and is a paid customer, even though we have not launched our product. So, this helped us not spend our energy on people who will not buy now. And also, people who will help you develop the product because they are early adopters, they are visionaries, and they don't mind helping you develop the product. In fact, they act as if it's their product. They send me a mail, hey, Sam, let's have a call next week to see the progress of your product, and they're a customer. So that is a very classic idea of early adopters. So the idea actually introduced to me by Raj, and this was like, every year I have one or two books that opens my eyes and like, wow, this changes everything. And this year, this is one of the books that I read that changed everything. And right now, we are using the bowling alley approach to target a very specific set of customers. That is also very good because when you target, so it's very tempting when somebody asks you, hey, I want to try your CRM, to say no, right? Because they think, oh, there could be some money coming here, but what happens when you really specifically target a particular group of customers is, one, you develop a very consistent sales approach. You know all the questions they will ask, all the pain points they have, all the problems they have, and then it becomes a repeatable model. You can just say the same things, use the same words, give them the same medicine, and it works every time. It sells. And then slowly the cash flow comes up, and then you find, okay, who can be the next guys who we can target. Often the next guys are also introduced by the same guys. And for example, our product does not even have a public website, but we have customers all across the world. We have more than 200 people using it, and some people even chase us and say, hey, they come on LinkedIn and say, I saw your product, I really want to use it. And then immediately what we do is we see if there's a fit, whether it fits in, whether the person is an early adopter, whether it's going to fit in our plan. And then it actually saved us a lot of time and money and focus wasting, and completely help us streamline, develop our whole product, because you need a whole product to go across the chasm. And we are developing our whole product with early adopters rather than people who will pester us with a checklist of things they need. So that was really, really useful for us to understand this kind of 5 segmentation of how the product goes through the life cycle.
Great. Fantastic. Okay. So, let's, let me quickly ask everybody, do you guys want a 5-minute break, or shall we just continue? I think we just continue. Okay, let's continue. Let me quickly see. We'll answer all the questions at the end. So let's just continue on. Okay, so now we're going to do 3 case studies, and we'll primarily focus on what was the marketing activities that I did with each company in order to, grow them successfully. Okay. Okay, so basically, a quick overview of my 3 companies, all on one slide. So Opti was the semiconductor company, Selectica was the enterprise software company, and the consumer video streaming company was Dino. In Opti's case, we could not raise any money, so basically it was self-funded plus angel. And then the other companies were VC funded, because once you have a track record, then serial entrepreneurs get it a little bit easier. But you'll see that, success is not generally correlated with the amount of money you've raised. And if you've read Donnie Deutsch's book by now, and I really want to reinforce the need to read that book, because just like Amar Bhide said, the one area that does not have correlation, in my opinion, is the amount of funding and amount of success. So in Opti's case, about $1 million. In Selectica's case, over $35 million. And in Dino's case, about $10 million. If you look at for the Opti, the customers were about 200 different PC manufacturers around the globe. For Selectica, which was enterprise software, big ticket enterprise software, about $250,000 to $10 million license fee. Essentially, it was global corporations, typically about $200 to $300 million and larger per year in sales. They had to be bigger than that before they could fit in. So the Global 2000 was a very good target for me. Entertainment software, entertainment companies for my consumer streaming, video streaming business, right? So 3 different categories of customers. Products, totally different. One is a semiconductor chip. Another one is IT services. And the third one is video distribution. And in my first company, the composition was 80% actually Taiwanese, not Chinese. For Selectica, being such a software-oriented company, it was probably 60 to 70% Indian ethnically, and split 50-50 in US and India. And with the Dino, it was 80% of the company was in the US, but I did have a small support operation in Pune. The business model for Optis, when you have very little money, is that you never lose money. Because if you lost money, you would be broke, right? So with Opti, we basically never lost any money. And with Selectica, this company was so cash rich. I mean, we raised $35 million from VCs, and then we raised $230 million from the IPO market, that we never needed to make money, and that's why we never made money. And yet I would say that Opti and Selectica were very successful companies and had very good outcomes. With Dino, and that was one company that actually I had the most confidence in, because with Opti and Selectica, I was always nervous. With Dino, I had a lot of confidence. And you'll see that, the goal was to create a profitable recurring revenue business. And so those were the business models. So Opti, 4 years after the company started, we exited for a $400 million IPO. And even today, Opti is a public company. And some of the patents that it doesn't have any more products left, but every year they make about $15 to $20 million by suing and licensing the patents that we developed in the first 5 years of the company. Selectica, we took it public about 5 years after starting the company for $5 billion market cap, and it's still a public company. And with Dino, we shut down operations and the VCs focused on licensing the platform. So to try and recover their $10 million investment. And you'll see why, even though I felt that Dino probably had the most exciting opportunity to be a multi-billion dollar sustainable company, it's the one company that, had a bad outcome. Okay, so you can see that, as an entrepreneur, it almost doesn't matter, what kind of company you're running. Totally different in my books. The mindset, the customers, the funding, the board of directors, the business model, the marketing, the selling, the product development, the tech support, the HR management, everything was totally different. And yet, basically, like, what were the strategies or entrepreneurial strategies that ended up in my books, making those companies, successful. And, having thought about it a lot, these are the 8 things that I've come up with. And you'll see kind of, how I've applied these 8 strategies at many different stages in the company, maybe all the time. So number 1 is responsive to market, which is, we can have whatever imagination we want about our products, about our technology, and about our key success factors, and about our competitive advantage. Yet we have to listen to the market. We have to be responsive to the market. And so that's number 1. Number 2, this is a must, which is fast product development. And if you look at the BMC that we talked about, Steve Blank keeps talking about something called MVP, or minimum viable product. And these days, hacking and building pretty much testable, demoable product in a day is very possible because of open source and outsourcing and many other things. So fast product development is a fundamental element of success. Next one is that, if you're going to scale up to be a large, successful company, you better have great teamwork. And this is something that we are going to cover over and over again, because if you don't teach your team, and if you don't trust your team, and you don't give them responsibility, you are going to become the bottleneck for the success of your company. So you have to create a culture of great teamwork in the company, from starting with you and your approach to getting things done. And so that, and that becomes the culture of the company that allows it to scale up. So great teamwork through delegation and trust. Number 4 is, a fierce competitor. You have to realize that the more successful you become, the more people are going to fight you from preventing you from becoming a headache for them, because every successful company ultimately becomes a headache for other companies. So if you look at it, right now, you know, Google is one of the biggest headaches for Silicon Valley startups, because Google is a fierce competitor, and they've got amazing assets that and they've got a very competitive mindset. So they are a total headache for a lot of entrepreneurial startups, and you have to learn the art of war and how to fight it. One key element, which is not very easily understandable, is this one, which is lose the battle but not the war. Because a startup is going to have failure after failure after failure after failure. I mean, you're going to bid on projects and not win them. You're going to try and hire some good employee, and he's going to go and join your competitor or a big company. You're going to try to raise money from a VC, and he's going to say no. So all these are battles that you will lose. But the day you give up raising money, the day you stop fighting for new orders, the day you stop, recruiting the best people, you've lost the war. And obviously that's the end of your startup and your company. So the important thing is to create the mindset in your employee base and yourself as to how to lose the battle, but it's not the end of the game. You've not lost the war. The next thing you're going to see is how to personalize your customer relationships so that, the customer sticks with you even when your product has some fatal bugs in them, when your product causes them big headaches, when your product, is weaker than the competition's product. Only by personalizing your relationship with your customers will they give you the time and the opportunity to go ahead and get your products done. The next one is important for company culture, which is total transparency, which is, essentially making everybody in your company basically know everything that is important for your company to succeed. So, if you lose a customer, if the competition has a better product, or if the product that your engineers have done is lower performance than the competition, you can't hide it from the salespeople. You can't hide it from the customer marketing people. You can't hide it from your finance people. You can't hide it from your receptionist. So everybody should be aware about all the things that individual departments might be unhappy to share. So, if some salesman lost a deal that we should have won, then you basically have to share it with the whole company that we should have won that Dell configuration order, but we lost it to Calico, and then you have to communicate that that loss happened, because what I've found is that when you try to hide something, actually the companies are small enough that through gossip it's going to get out there, and the real facts will be even worse than what really happened, or what people imagine bad happened is much worse than what really bad happened. So total transparency is a must. And the most important lesson is learning. Not only do you have to learn all the time, but you have to teach the team to learn all the time. And there are three things that you have to make it into a habit for yourself from today that will make you a learner every day. And only if you are a learner every day will your team recognize the importance of learning and learning every day. And so the three things that you have to do in order to learn every day is, number one, read some book every day. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, probably not more than 1 hour. You have to read a book. Make, underline the important parts, make notes, but, you have to read something. Number two is you have to start listening to good stuff, good audiobooks, all the time that today you waste. Like, I know when I travel in Bombay, even though I have a driver in my car, no matter where I go, it's at least 45 minutes to hour and a half, no matter where I go. In the US, even going to work will always be at least 20 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever. Going shopping will be 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or whatever. So thing is that we are spending at least 2-3 hours doing nothing. And that has to be put to use with audiobooks. And the reason why I shared that big idea as an audio material is basically to get you to, put the system in place so that your smartphone, how to download, audiobooks. How to download podcasts. How to download magazines, articles, etc. And then you start, listening to them whenever you got free. Like every day for the last, I would say, 15 years, I've been listening to about 30 different audiobooks per year. So guess what? I've heard about 600 audiobooks in 1 year, in the last 15 years. And, which automatically gives me a huge encyclopedia of material, which is a part of me now. And I've got access to it. So I give 2 points. One is reading. Second is audiobooks. And number 3 is questioning and attending and participating in as many seminars and learning opportunities as possible. If there are, like, it's really awesome that we've got 100+ students across the globe uh, that have signed up to this class. And I think based on the material that we are covering, you're all definitely going to be a quantum leap ahead of wherever you are. But this is just an 8-week course. What happens after the 8 weeks are over? After the 8 weeks are over, you need to have already signed up for the next 8 weeks for something else. Maybe sales, maybe marketing, maybe HR, maybe finance, maybe whatever. There are, these days, between Coursera, Udemy, MIT, Harvard, there are n number of free or almost free learning opportunities, and you have to continuously be taking these courses. So basically, 3 methods by which you become a lifelong learner. And at least based on the book that I'm going to share with you one of these, hopefully next week or the week after. It's called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. This guy guarantees that if you do these 3 things where you are continuously learning, you're guaranteed to be an ultra successful person in whatever you pursue. Since most of you are pursuing entrepreneurship, you are going to be ultra successful in your entrepreneurial things. But if you're a corporate executive or doing something else, you're going to be ultra successful in that too. So anyway, so these are the 8 things, entrepreneurial strategies that I personally have focused on. And it doesn't matter what company I run or what business I do, are like, Bible truths, truths straight from Vedanta Bible, for me, for my entrepreneurial business, right? So just, I would say that you should try and take these 8 points and try to incorporate them into your approach to your entrepreneurial cases. Okay, so this is kind of the overall entrepreneurial strategy, but the biggest challenge that separates out the biggest challenge that separates out successful entrepreneurs from those who are still struggling is going to be, companies or entrepreneurial companies that knew how to develop their market. And, we have gone through Jeffrey Moore's approach, but, that is just a model. Now you got to apply it. And when you apply it, when you understand a model completely, then you can apply that model to your company's specific situation with intelligence. And I'm going to explain to you how I applied that Jeffrey Moore model to each of my companies. So for Opti, you'll see that I decided actually to bypass the traditional early adopters and early majority. I actually bypassed both of them, and I went straight to the conservative market. And I used that approach, and it'll be completely counterintuitive, but that was the that was the success factor that allowed me in 3-4 years with no money to become a leader in the business. So I'll explain to you how that was done. If you look at Selectica, that was done in a very traditional way in terms of following the Jeffrey Moore model. And I would say that we followed the Jeffrey Moore model to the T. Every step that Jeffrey Moore has talked about, I followed in Selectica, from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to 4 to 5. The bowling alley, the tornado, building the complete solution, all of changing the value proposition from segment to segment. Selectica followed the Jeffrey Moore model to the T. Everything that, it was a perfect case study for the Jeffrey Moore model. And with Dino, also, we applied the Jeffrey Moore model to the marketplace, but we made one strategic blunder, or two strategic blunders in my books, that prevented us from becoming a multi-billion-dollar, success in the marketplace. Probably by now we should have been worth $1 billion, and we shut the company in 2012. So we were expecting to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, or maybe even $1 billion by 2015, but we shut the company in 2012. So, but you'll see how we went after Dino's market. So basically, the classic of marketing is to optimize the product, the pricing, the place, and the promotion. And just to be very clear, what is selling, what is marketing, what's branding. Selling focuses on the needs of the buyer, marketing on the needs of the seller, marketing on the needs of the buyer, which is, if you're with Dino, you're trying to do marketing so that Dino's need to build a business and to get customers to buy is taken care of. And brand is the identity that differentiates us with this promise of value for the product, and explains what the source of that promise is. So selling, marketing, and branding. These are three important words that you'll be clear about in your head. Okay, so let's take a look at Opti. So, we became the world's largest chipset company in 5 years, where 1 out of every 4 PCs or laptops was using our chipsets. Every company, from the biggest IBM Compaq to the smallest, were our customers on a global basis. And, we went public for a $400 million valuation. We never lost money. And but we started the company with no money. Remember, chips at $250 million cash in the bank. Intel had multi-billion dollars. So did TI. VLSI probably had a few $100 million. So all of these were my competitors. They had fabs. They had hundreds and thousands of engineers. And chips only did chipsets. And they already had revenues of $200 million in chipsets when we took them on. So, but in 5 years, they actually went bankrupt, and we became the leader in the marketplace, right? So even though they were, they were the leader, we wiped them out. So, so how did we do this? So if you look at, let's go back to let me use the Jeffrey Moore chart to explain why Opti went straight to the Far East manufacturers, and then what were the marketing things I did in order to, win the market. Okay. Okay, so I think San did a fantastic job of explaining how for his technologically innovative company, and then you'll see for Selectica, this is the perfect model for high-tech marketing. And so basically what happened was that, there were all these big companies that were in the chipset business. The chipset business was already probably a close to $500 million market by the time we started the business. And, there were all these big companies from Intel, VLSI, chips, etc., that used to play in this marketplace. And basically the early adopters for the PC market was companies like Compaq and Dell Computers that were always the first two PC companies to launch any new microprocessor or that Intel would come up with. So when Intel went from 88 to 286, Dell and Compaq were the first to come up with those computers. And then the early majority was companies like HP, Compaq, IBM, DEC, Gateway. These were all the early majority. And then the late majority was basically the Far East PC manufacturers and the no-name PC manufacturers and people who would provide motherboards, and then other people would provide boxes, and people would then just assemble it together. The Japanese were absolutely in this late majority category, or laggards like companies like Toshiba, Matsushita, NEC. They were all in this category. So that was the composition of the marketplace. So at Opti, essentially the idea that Opti came up with was, why don't we go ahead and integrate a cache controller into the core chipset so that we can get about 30% higher performance by putting in about $30 or $40 worth of static RAM, SRAMs, onto the motherboard. So that was the simple value proposition. And before Opti came along, nobody had put a cache controller on the PC motherboard. So everybody had DRAM and had chipset and CPU. And Opti came up with the idea that is to integrate a cache controller. And till Opti came along with an integrated cache controller, people always thought that cache controllers are for mini computers and mainframes, and did not make sense for PCs. So, but Opti integrated a very, very simple direct map cache controller, which was only about 500 or 600 gates. Remember, a chipset was about 30,000 gates, but with 500-600 gates, we could put in a direct map cache controller, very simple one, but which provided a good 20 to 30% higher performance by putting in $20-30 worth of static RAM. So that was a little breakthrough. And 500-600 gates, anybody can design it in. And that was our competitive advantage. And then after coming up with that chipset, basically I looked at the market, and since I'd been in the chipset business with Intel and with Chips and Technologies, I was the director of marketing at Chips. I realized that with less than $1 million, with only 7 or 8 engineers, no application engineers, nobody, or no resources, by the time I wrote my data books, by the time I did all my technical analysis and testing and QA and provided all those results that all these big companies like Dell, Compaq, IBM, HP are going to demand, I'm going to really not be able to do it. So I said that, look, there is no way that, even though I know who to contact, because all of these guys I knew, like Michael Dell was my friend actually, there's no way that he will be able to use my product, right? So what I did was I bypassed the innovators, early adopters, and early majority, because I already knew what the product required. I'd been in this chipset business for 5 years with Intel and then with chips. So I knew the whole industry inside out. So I did not need the learnings from the early adopters. And I did not need, and there was no way that I had all the technical support capability to build all the all of this stuff that would be required for people to use the product. And so what I did was I went after the late majority, which is all the Far East manufacturers. And essentially, the message I gave them was very simple. So you'll see that, with Opti, I actually bypassed all of this in order to hit Main Street first, which was kind of unexpected by my competition, and really kind of blew the minds of everybody as to why you're not selling to Dell, because Dell and IBM and others owned 80% of the market and 98% of the profit in the PC business. So they said, why are you targeting Main Street? Because they don't make any money, and so on. So let's see what I did. Okay. Okay. So what I did was I went straight away to the late majority, and that was these Far East manufacturers. And, I basically gave them the following message that, look, generally, all the big chipset companies like Intel, Chips, TI, etc., they give all the information about product stuff, etc., and the latest and best chipsets to these big companies who go ahead and launch products based on them. And in the PC market, there's a 50% decline in price of the PC in 1 year. And by the time you guys get the chipset, all the profit is already gone from the marketplace. So I said, I'm going to change. I'm going to give you the latest chipset, and I'm not going to offer it to these other companies. And they said, obviously, how are you sure? Can you guys see the slides? Okay, sorry. Can you guys see the slides, Sam?
In the screen, it's kind of cut a little bit. You can't see the last end. I think you can keep it no, don't play the slide share. Sorry, slideshow. It should be fine. You can increase the screen.
Okay. I'm wondering what happened.
It's just the resolution. You can drag the sliding.
Let me try again. Because before it used to work, so I don't know why.
Yeah, just from current slide. Yeah, we can try that. Let's try it.
How's it now?
Yeah, it's working fine.
Now it's working fine. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay. So basically, like, I bypassed everybody else, all the early adopter and everybody else, and because I already knew everything that was needed by the product, and went straight to these guys. And the value proposition that I gave them was that I'm going to give you the chipsets first so that you make a lot of money. And it's interesting that I visited 10 of the largest PC manufacturers in Taiwan, and we were just a 6-month-old company, and 6 of them sent me a purchase order by the time I returned after my 1-week trip. It was probably the most successful sales trip in my history, where with one meeting, 2-hour meeting, I got these customers to sign up to design my chipset in and to launch a product with it. So basically, by using this approach, and they kind of trusted my expertise because I'd been in the industry with Intel and chips, and they'd previously seen me as director of marketing for chips, and now I was with this company, so I kind of carried the aura from chips to Opti, and essentially use that to get them to design in the product. And then what I did was even more amazing, because I did not want just 6 customers in Taiwan to use my product. I wanted to take over the entire Taiwan market. So in Taiwan, there were, like, at that time, about 150 motherboard or 200 motherboard manufacturers. And all of these motherboard manufacturers would take a small 10 by 10 booth or a 20 by 20 booth at Comdex, which was the big computer expo every year in Las Vegas. And, if I try to support these 150 companies with a unique design, it would just not work. I just did not. With 7, 8 engineers, how am I going to support so many people? So I made 150 motherboards, but did not put my Opti name on it anywhere. And before the show started, one day before the show started, I visited every booth and said, do you want to have the fastest PC motherboard in your booth? I'll sell it to you for $5,000. So, about 100 of them said, sure, we would like to have the fastest board. So I sold it to them for $5,000. And when Comdex started, they found that, all over all the Far East manufacturers were displaying motherboards with Opti chipsets, OPTI chipsets. And in one show, we became an instantaneously famous company. And so basically we took over the entire market for the conservative market. So we basically took the mainstream, slow, conservative market and made them, become kind of market leaders. We kind of turned the market on its head. And then I did something else, which is, for these guys, generally what happens is that, they can't wait for 6 months to deliver product. So what I told my engineers is that, look, if we use the traditional method to develop product, we are going to be, it's going to take us about 9 months to get to market. So we can win, we can have a great launch, but business is going to come 9 months later. And by that time, the big competitors will all be there with their cash controller. So I told my engineers that, look, we've got $1 million in the bank. We are going to order $1 million worth of chipsets along with the samples. So I said that if you make a single mistake in your chip design, our entire $1 million of chipsets, we're going to have to throw it in the Pacific, and we're going to shut the company down. Because what are we going to do with chips? These chips have got 30,000 gates, and each chip is typically designed by 3 or 4 engineers. Each of them designs 3, 4, 5,000 gates. And if they make one mistake, one guy thinks the signal is coming positive and the other guy thinks the signal is coming negative, the chip is not going to work. So no big company takes the risk of placing a production order along with the samples. But what I told my team is that, look, if we are conservative and we basically wait for the samples, you guys test the samples, then you fix the design mistakes you made, then we release the next order, then the samples come in, you test it, then we place the order. Remember, it takes about 60 days before when you release a mask and you get your chips back, samples back. So it's going to be 9 months, and there's no way we are going to be able to be ahead of the competition. So it kind of blew the minds of my design engineers that, I was putting the entire risk and I was delegating the entire risk of the success of the company on their heads. And I was trusting them to not make any silly mistakes in the design of the chipset. And, as I said, and that's exactly what Sun Tzu says in The Art of War, that if you want, he I think fought in over 200 battles in his life and did not lose even one battle. And he said that if you basically take your army and you line them up with their backs to the river, and then you burn all the boats that took them across the river, then you will never lose a single battle. Because if the soldiers know that they are going to die if they lose the battle, they know that their only hope is to win the battle. They are going to fight so fiercely that the other team, which has the option of retreating, essentially is going to, prefer not to die or prefer not to get injured and is going to run away, because these guys are going to fight so aggressively. Same approach when you apply to design engineers or to whoever and say that, look, I trust you completely to execute the project without any problems, and I trust you, and you make it clear to the whole company that the engineering team is being trusted with the success of the whole company. And guess what? The $1 million of chips, production chips, came in on time. And when these Far East manufacturers said, okay, we have got lots of orders from Comdex, can you deliver us the product in 3 months? I said, why wait for 3 months? If you give me the purchase order right now, I'll ship you the chipsets right now. And basically, I shipped out the product immediately as soon as the orders came in. And, all of a sudden in 1 year, our sales went from zero to $25 million in the second year with $19 million of profit. And then in the third year, we hit $65 million with $37 million of profit, and then $99 million with another $30 million of profit. And then we went public. So you can see that, when you team up your marketing tactics and use them intelligently with everything lined up, you can, create an amazing success. Then we also, came up with this turnkey manufacturing package where we basically took the board that we had designed and we prepared the film, the BIOS, the manuals, the UL certification, marketing material, everything we prepared and gave it to these 150 motherboard and PC manufacturers in Taiwan. So they did not have to do any work. And then we provide local sales and tech support. And in less than 2 or 3 years, we became, clearly the dominant player. And then once we became the dominant player in the Far East, guess what happened? Because every 12 to 18 months, we are designing newer and newer generation of chipsets. And what ended up happening was, people from Dell Computers, Compaq, IBM, they started calling us and said, hey, we want to know what's there in your chipsets. We cannot get any information about your chipsets. And, by that time, we had more than enough money in the bank, and we had grown to 200 plus people that, we could basically support them and, keep growing the company now with a broad product line, servicing every segment of the market, from 16-bit PCs to 32-bit PCs to 486 PCs to Pentium PCs, and servicing US companies, European companies, as well as Asian companies. So, you basically grow the company. And, this is something that we will discuss when we talk about financing, because the biggest problem for the semiconductor startup is that it's impossible to start a semiconductor company with less than $1 million, because, you have to ship by the time it takes, 3 months once you release the purchase order to get back the sample, the tested, packaged and tested chips. And then you ship it to your customer, and then he takes another 30 to 60 days to pay the bill. So it takes close to 4 to 5 months to turn around the purchase order that you made for the chips. So with $1 million, how do you, scale up the company? So we use something called letter of credit, and we are going to explain this. I'm going to explain this process for how we handle the cash flow problem to build a semiconductor company with less than $1 million. Okay, so now let's take the case of Selectica. Selectica, again, was 5 years late to market compared to the competition. I was a semi guy. I had no experience in the enterprise software market. I did not have any relationships or credibility with these Fortune 500 CIOs. Yet in 5 years, we had replaced Trilogy and Calico at all the big companies, IBM, Dell, GE, Cisco. We were signing $10 million license deals. We had 800 employees worldwide. We had revenues of $50 million and an IPO of $5 billion and raised $230 million. So, we even in enterprise software, we used entrepreneurial approach to succeeding in that marketplace. So let me kind of explain, maybe again with that particular chart, as to how we did it. You guys remember that I covered how Selectica built up the entire product using the Siemens CIO, right? I explained all of that last time. So let's take a look at that example in the context of the Jeffrey Moore model. Okay, so if you look at this particular model, I told you that Siemens was an early adopter visionary, right? So Siemens CIO was the guy who helped me take my configurator and told me how to add the model builder, the dashboard, the reporting system, the middleware, and he got me to take my configuration engine and build all of this together, right? And once he helped me put all of it together, basically I had to cross the chasm and enter the bowling alley. So the bowling alley that we figured out was these following bowling alleys. One was telecom, which is where Cisco and others were there. The next one was high-end computers like Dell servers, blade arrays, and so on. And third was industrial products. So those were the three bowling alleys that we targeted with different companies. So for telecom, we targeted Cisco. For PCs and servers, we targeted Dell computers. And then for industrial products, we targeted GE MRI systems. So, and we did that by putting together the whole product based on feedback from the visionaries. So, in the beginning, we had no idea what these big companies wanted, so we managed to get our hands on some project proposals which were written by Accenture and so on, these big IT services companies. And once we got that and we hired a few people from there, we learned how to write proposals for selling these products. Then we hired some high-level VPs and directors of sales from these kinds of companies who taught us how to sell these products. Like, there was a time when we thought that, $25,000 was a lot of money. Then we found out that $250,000 we thought was a lot of money. Then we thought $1 million is a lot of money. And then we thought that $10 million is a lot of money. And you won't believe it, I even had a deal with General Motors for $65 million. And they had agreed to license my configurator and my solution for $65 million. The same product that I was selling for $25 million, GE basically gave me an LOI that they are going to buy it for $65 million. And IBM and others already paid me 10, $15 million license fee, plus another 15, $20 million services. So basically, like, um, what happened was that by using the Siemens guy, I got the product to a certain stage. And then by using the help of recruits that I got my hands on different RFPs. I got my hands on different proposals written by the competition. Once I got all of that, when I walked into these Fortune 500 companies, I would give them a proposal which itself was 200 pages thick. So, you want to get the same product sold for $10 million, you put a 200-page proposal in front of them. You want to sell the same product for $1 million, you put a 50-page proposal in front of them. You want to sell it for $250,000, you put a 15-page proposal. And if you want to give it away for $25,000, you put a website up. So, so it really is, this is the most crazy thing that I learned about how to take the same product and sell it for 10x, 100x, the price, right? 100x. So, and obviously, when you put a 200-page proposal, it's actually got at least 2 years worth of consulting services that is needed in order to provide seamless integration and deployment services and training services and all kinds of services. So it's not that, you're not selling, you're just selling vaporware. But, essentially, when you start selling total solutions, the kind of money that you make. I mean, today, IBM has mastered the art of selling billion-dollar proposals, right? IBM goes to Procter & Gamble and sells $1 billion computer services for, for the IT services, etc. So, where you go in business depends a lot on, your appetite for how far you want to go, right? So anyway, so with Selectica, we went from right here all the way till here, and created a major successful company. So how did we really do it? Okay, so with Selectica, what we did is we preemptively built a very large tech team in Pune and Chennai, because I could hire excellent engineers and I could train them for close to 1 year before I had to put them to productive work on global projects. And I used them to proactively build mockups for all these global companies like Hitachi and Samsung. So when I walked into Hitachi, I already had a mockup for how my configurator would work for their, complex, large-scale computers, and same thing for Samsung. So, I use my Indian not outsource, I had my own teams building up all of these things. And by using all of that, I could provide on-site resources all over the world very cost effectively. And then I could knock off, one bowling alley after the next, or one vertical after the next, from computers to telecom to PCs, and then even insurance. So we became the leader in configuring insurance plans for Aetna Corporation and Blue Cross Blue Shield and United Health and all of these companies. So basically, we used the global resources and then marketing strategy tied into leveraging those resources, and then became the leader in this marketplace. So now you've seen how Opti and Selectica leverage the Jeffrey Moore model in a slightly different way. And then we come to company number 3, which was over-the-top broadband services, OTT broadband services. And here the challenges were slightly different, where the product itself is free. You walk into a market where YouTube is free, Justin TV, Ustream, everybody is free, and the TV and movie business is a mature industry with its own unique way of distributing and all that. And even for other companies in the OTT broadband business like New Line, Brightco, Oyala, we were 5 years late to everybody. So these were kind of the odds. And but in 3 years, we managed to get 500 plus TV channels using our streaming services. We had 10,000 people watching those 500 TV channels. We also had 300,000 individual broadcasters using our broadcaster. And we had many cable companies worldwide discussing licensing decisions. And it's interesting. So for here, let's see what we had to do. We basically found that the online US market was saturated. And there was absolutely, wherever I went, yes, I could do video streaming better than YouTube, but how do you fight free? How do you fight Google's marketing? So, so basically, US was very tough. And then we finally found our niche market. And that's where this hair on fire example is so important, which is we had this Malayali guy from Cochin call me up and said that, hey, I've seen your streaming application, and I want to take 16 or 17 Malayalam TV channels, Malayali TV channels, and I want to stream them to the 200,000 Malayalis who are in the Middle East and in the US and Europe and Africa. And they only want to watch Asianet, and they want to watch, all of these Malayali actors. So he said, can you help me do it? And I said, look, right now I'm very good at streaming, but I don't know anything about the TV business. So he said, I will help you specify the complete distribution and billing platform, customer acquisition platform, kind of performance tracking platform, the security platform, because piracy is very important in this business. And I'll give you a reference also. So I took my whole team and I said, okay, guys, we are going to change from streaming, 100,000 different video streams from random people like churches and weddings and photographers and school kids, and we are going to stream only TV channels out. So we're only going to have 500 TV channels, but they need to work 24 hours a day across 100 countries with all kinds of firewalls and internet differences and everything. And then we are going to have to build this entire distribution billing platform. And here is the spec. So when you have a great engineering team who can do fast product development, we pulled it off in about 4 months. And in 4 months, Bomb TV went live, and we started signing up Malayali people all over, diaspora all over the world. And, basically, like Bomb TV, I asked him, how much can you charge? So he said that every Malayali will be happy to pay us $20. I've got to pay Asianet and the other TV channels $10. And then I'll keep $5 and you keep $5. And you provide all the streaming and distribution and billing platform. So I said, that's awesome. So if I can get 100,000 Malayalis to start becoming my Dino subscribers, I can make $500,000 per month. In 1 year, I'll be a $6 million revenue company. And then there are, probably 500,000 Tamils, and then there is probably another, million Telugus, and then there are a whole bunch of 2 million Turkish people, and, there are close to about 100 million diaspora in the world, guys. And if I can get even 1 million of them to start using my platform, I'll have $5 million a month, which is $60 million a year. And that would probably give me a market valuation of $1 billion. And so, as soon as Bomb TV went live, I managed to use that to chase Kenya TV and Ghana TV and IPO TV and all of them. And soon I had 600 TV channels on my platform, from Syria, from Croatia, from all these places. I had TV channels streaming out. And my customers were growing at about 3,000-4,000 users per month. And I could easily project that in 1 year, I'm going to get to 50,000. In 2 years, I'll get to about 300,000. And then in the third year, I'll be at 1 million users. And that's how, Dino was supposed to be successful. Let me see if I've got the slide. Okay, I don't have it. Sorry. So I should probably tell you, what happened. What happened is that, after we had our 600 TV channels and we were growing nicely and steadily, basically like Dish TV connected with my board of directors, who was a friend of the CEO of Dish TV, and basically they said, hey, we want to see what you guys got. And since the board member had set up the meeting, I went there. I was very open with my information, and there was like 20 people in the room from all the VPs and general managers and everybody. And I gave them all my trade secrets of which platform to use, which Roku to use, what type of streaming is required, what kind of problems happen in Texas versus California. I gave them all the information. And then, because I was expecting that, they would actually go ahead and make an offer to buy Dino for $200 million, or maybe even $150 million, whatever. And, that would be pretty good. And what happened is that 6 months down the road, they basically launched their own ethnic TV channel streaming business, but they did something worse, because then I could have handled the competition. But since they knew that the key to my success was the ability to work on Roku, which was a internet TV box, they went to Roku and invested $25 million in Roku and became the exclusive vendor for ethnic TV channels on Roku. And Roku told us that they were shutting down all my business, all my streaming services worldwide. And all of a sudden, like, I had 8,000 customers who had signed up for Turkish TV and Bomb TV, Malayali TV and Telugu TV and everything. And they were all going to be shut down. And my whole business became a disaster because, essentially Dish was driving all my customers out of the market by becoming the exclusive on the Roku box, which we had convinced all these subscribers to purchase. And, 3 months after Dish launched this strategy, we had run out of money, and the VCs did not want to fight Dish TV, and they said, we will just go ahead and take the IP, because we had a massive platform, which was a full TV distribution and billing platform, which had now been validated across the globe, and they'll sell it. And I don't know if they've successfully sold it, but Reliance just bought, I think Anil Ambani's company just bought BigFlix for $100 million or something. So, this obviously did become a big business as we had anticipated, but we ended up shutting the company down. So anyway, so that was the outcome for Dino. And, sometimes as an entrepreneur, you do face big companies that you may not win every time. Okay, so let's see, what's the time? So we've got about 15 minutes. We are going to cover a lot about foreign sales and everything and doing business globally in our sales presentation, because a nice niche that generally entrepreneurs, if they can successfully develop, which is like the global niche, a lot of good things start happening to their business. So we will spend some time with doing global selling in the next class. Today we have largely focused on marketing. So let's go to Q&A. Okay. If you guys have your chat box open, we'll just go down the chat. Okay. Of how category drove the marketing approach. Okay. Yatin, can you explain what you mean by category? Yatin, are you in the meeting? Yeah.
I think you've explained it through your examples actually, but it was really that if we are pitching to early adopters, or we're pitching to people that take chances on our company startup, how do we get them excited about our business? And what messaging do we take to the next mob down on the maturity curve? But I think I've got a lot of that from your examples, to be honest.
Yeah, actually, if you just go down that graphic,
yeah,
that explains it all. Plus, I've also shared on the EdCast portal, I also shared a 10-page summary of the Crossing the Chasm book,
okay,
which explains in more detail how you tackle each segment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. From Thai Nagpur, how do you identify the right person with right domain knowledge? I assume you're meaning how do you hire a marketing guy with the right domain knowledge? So basically, like, what I've found is that you have to hire marketing and sales people who are hungry but are very competent, but they are, 1 or 2 levels below the VP in your competitors or in the market that you're chasing. So, what I've found is that instead of trying to recruit the VP of sales of another company or the top guy, it's better to hire, an up and coming sales guy or regional guy who is hungry, who's got all the abilities of the VP, but has got doesn't have the experience and reputation of the VP, right? So I generally prefer to recruit these kinds of people. Obviously, you've got these days, because of LinkedIn and everything, you can actually, get a pretty good org chart of your competitors, and you can easily find out the profile of the person that you want to target. So it was a lot more difficult when I was building my companies because we didn't have something like LinkedIn, but, we would use recruiters who had that knowledge and information, and we would just target our recruiters at the right profile that we were looking for. And in terms of price, I think, remember, as an entrepreneur, you don't have typically much cash, but what you have is the ability to give responsibility. You've got the ability to give equity, and you've got the ability to give them the freedom to go ahead and do a great job, be creative and innovative in their job. So, if you can find the right person, then, they are going to appreciate the value of these 3 items, which is responsibility, equity, and the freedom to use all their skills. For example, sometimes I've been in situations where I actually had a better product being an entrepreneur, but I lost the sale to a much more, to a better sales guy who was selling a weaker product, but from a bigger company with a bigger reputation. So when that happens, actually, my interest actually goes up a lot in that person, because I know that this guy has got some pretty good selling skills. When you can take an inferior product and sell it, you're selling based on relationship, and you're selling based on, a superior sales ability. So I actually lost a sale to such a sales guy, and guy called Matt Reddy, who was working for my competitor. So I just called up after losing the sale. I called up the sales guy, Matt Reddy. I said, Matt, you have beaten me with a weaker product, and I'm congratulating you because you've beaten me and successfully sold in spite of having a weaker product. So I said, do you want to meet for coffee? And, so I flew down to Southern California, met him, and there I told him, look, I can give you a better product to sell. And with your ability, plus I'm going to give you stock options, and I'm going to give you a lot more responsibility. Right now you are a sales guy. I'm going to make you a regional sales manager for Southern California. And you have a better product. And, if you sell, you're going to make a lot of money. And the company is going to be more successful, which means your equity is going to be worth a lot. And you won't. The interesting thing is that in a year and a half, I promoted him from a regional sales guy to US sales VP. And in 3 years, I made him the worldwide VP of sales. So, if you look at the kind of money he made and the reputation that he got, he could have never got that money and reputation if he had continued working for that bigger company. And for me to find a sales guy who can sell a weaker product successfully, that's a perfect indication that I want that guy on my team. Okay. Next one is, do you have a menu card for marketing? I think the slide presentations are pretty good, but in marketing, it is not just a question of doing things, writing out all the collateral. It is actually the intelligence that you have and the understanding that you have about what will work when to take a shortcut, when to go ahead and change the game on the competition, when to, do certain things in pricing, packaging, sales approach, that is the key. So marketing is actually a very, very creative job. And, obviously you need to know everything that needs to be done. And I think the slide decks that are provided have it all. But, it's really it's like a chess player. Everybody knows, everybody plays with the same chess pieces. But the person that really understands the logic and the intelligence of what's not perceivable, that is the key. So you're supposed to look for that kind of person. In a situation where data cost is high, do app ads make sense? That's a good point. The answer is no, obviously, because as I said, the most important thing is lifetime value of a user. And obviously, you have to factor in the data cost, and it's going to make it even more difficult. So you need more virality. Faster you iterate, faster you grow is applicable to non-tech companies. Probably less applicable, but I would say that, in this day and age, everybody has to move fast. That's an inherent advantage that entrepreneurs have compared to all the established big companies. So I would not, so speed is of the essence for success these days. How do we identify the right digital marketing agency? I think obviously I use a lot of references, but even more important than references is that after you hire them, you have to set the expectations correctly, and you have to monitor all of these guys incessantly. Don't trust. That is my number one advice. Don't trust. Don't trust marketing guys, don't trust sales guys, and don't trust lawyers. But the whole idea is that when I say don't trust, it really means that, you have to be vigilant. I'm asking for vigilance. I'm not asking for saying you're a liar. I'm just saying that you have to be vigilant, and you have to make it clear to them that you're vigilant, because if you're sleeping and you're not paying attention to anything, you're going to get into a deep soup very quickly. Okay, can the Jeffrey Moore model be applicable to financial products like hedge funds? Probably not, because, in hedge funds, you're not going to be developing, the enhancing the product and so on. So not directly applicable. For hedge fund marketing, I would focus on selling and sales, and we're going to do some of that stuff as we go ahead in the next week or two. Next week, actually. Tai Pune, can you please let us know courses similar to the one going on, which will help us take us further in our earnings? And yeah, I think I was looking at something on Udemy. There's some very good stuff. If you go to Stanford University, there is some very good stuff. On the Lean Launchpad, there's some very good stuff. So, you should take a look at the current course. It's just the first step in your journey. A lot of companies lose market share validation as that's absolutely true. That companies lose a lot of market share as founders, promoters exit the company, and that's unfortunately a fact of life in at least Silicon Valley. We have found that and for some reason the whole psychology of a company changes the day the company goes public, because everybody feels independently wealthy and don't need to depend on each other. And till you're private, everybody depends on each other. So you have this teamwork that was the teamwork goes away when a company goes public. And when I see the success of Facebook, and I see the success of Google and others that have grown tenfold or hundredfold after going public, hats off to the leadership that they could make that transition, because I have not really figured out the answer about how to keep the company going after public. Had you not disclosed the secret of Dino, would you have survived? I think we would have had competition, but we would not have had a situation where the heart of our business, which was the Roku box, became the exclusive domain of Dish, right? They kicked us out of the Roku box. If the Roku box allowed Dish channels and allowed Dino channels, we could have competed. But, since they knew that the heart of Dino's business was the Roku video box, and some other stuff that we told them, trade secrets that we shared, that was the screw up. Yeah. With Opti, I think you adopted a blue ocean strategy by going to Far East. Explain that, San. What is the meaning of you're muted?
Yeah, the point that you mentioned is that you actually skipped the early adopters and went to the late adopter, the late market players, the late majority. Did you not actually go into a market which was a blue ocean for you, where there was not really much competition? And that is the essence of the blue ocean strategy. You according to the art of war, go into places where your competition don't expect you, and I think that is the essence of the blue ocean strategy. I think that's what I felt.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're definitely right, because basically, like, everybody thought we were stupid to ignore Dell and Compaq and HP and others, which we deliberately did for 2 years.
Yes.
And on the other hand, 4 years later, we survived, we thrived, and they all got destroyed, right? So basically, you're right. It was, if you can go to the blue ocean strategy, which is go where there's no competition, and then make your customers successful. That was the key, right?
Yes. Anywhere. Yes.
If the customers are not, if your customers are not successful with your product, blue ocean strategy doesn't mean anything. So your product still needs to work.
Yes.
Yeah. Then how did you transition from an engineer to a marketeer seller? Well, in my particular case, I was an engineer for the first 5 years. I went from IIT to got my master's in Toronto, and then worked for 5 years at GE and and Harris Corporation. And then while I was doing that, I picked up an MBA, and then when I moved to California, I decided I want to do a job that leverages my MBA. And that job I found was product management. So I worked as a product manager at Intel for 6 years, and those 6 years were kind of fundamental to transitioning from engineer to marketeer. And then, and yet I was not in sales, and I did not know selling. And every entrepreneur needs to understand selling. And that's what we are going to do in the next class, because if you don't understand selling, and all you know is marketing, you're still not going to be successful, because selling is even more fundamental to your success. And the way I learned selling was when the VP of Far East Sales of Chips and Technologies said, Raj, do you want to come with me to Taiwan so that we can promote your new chipset that you're launching? And I said, okay. And in those 2 weeks that I went to Taiwan with my VP of Far East Sales, Steve Shanks, he changed me completely. He taught me what selling was, and from that day onwards, I started focusing on building up my sales skills, and that's another fundamental building block. So the fundamental building blocks are, growing your team, managing agile product development, becoming a good marketeer, becoming a great salesman, becoming a great negotiator, and then learning how to communicate. So these are all fundamental skills. Yeah. And then which email ID to send the assignment? Okay, I've gone ahead and again pushed out the date. So please don't send by email if possible. Just inform me about the fact, because I get hundreds of emails, and they're all going to get lost. It's very difficult for me to keep track. When it's in the cloud, it's easy for me to download all the homeworks in the cloud. There's a tracking system, grading system, reporting system. Everything is right there in the cloud. So What CRM tools did your teams use and what worked the best? So I think if I had to do it all over again, I would use UPilot. But, I think we were one of the early adopters for Salesforce.com. And then for contact management, there was some product called that helped us manage our Rolodex and all of those things. So we never used Siebel, but I think we used Salesforce.com. And then there were some other low-end CRM packages which were cheaper. I used those. One question was, any suggestion for CRM tool for startups? So I think, San, why don't you post a discussion about, how people can sign up for UPilot and try it out?
Yeah, what I could do is I could give a secure link to our participants, those who wants to sign up for this class. I could put it in the forum. It will be, it is only by invitation for the moment, but we would give a secure link where they could go and sign up. And if they mention that they are from your class, we would give them access.
Awesome. Really appreciate it, San. So I think I really hope all of you who are actually running companies use it and provide feedback to San. So I think it needs to help both parties. And when you become successful, hopefully you'll become a big customer of San. Okay. I've gone ahead and changed the dates. I'm going to teach how to lead, manage, motivate people in this course. Yeah, I think that's what we are doing right now, I hope. Right? I think ultimately you guys have to do it yourself. And I think you have to learn from all the mistakes. Me and all the other guest speakers are sharing, right? Okay, guys, it's 10:06. I know a lot of you guys have got to go back to work or start your work day, but good luck. And then we will talk to you in a week. Oh, I forgot. Very important. Next week, I'm booked for 16th evening, California time. So I would like to make the class 15th evening. Is it possible? Is 15th evening, which it'll make it into Wednesday evening, California time, Thursday morning, India time. Is that okay? Okay, San, you'll have to sign up from your airline. But there'll also be a recording. Yeah. Okay, so I will